Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. This is going to be a fun year. For the first time, I see a real nasty primary coming up for Democrats for governor. That's usually what, my Republican team does. So I thought it'd be fun to meet these folks one-on-one and see what choices we have. So first up, Noel Ginsburg. Noel, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, I didn't know this until just a second ago, but you're a native. I mean, you're a native.
The real deal. Born at Rose Hospital, grew up near Villa Italia, and only people who know that are natives because It's not there anymore.
No, the only people that will know that you're a native is you were once on Blinky's Fun Club.
That is true. You had to bring that up now.
Of course I would. No, I think.
How about Fred and Faye there too?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, no, being on Blinky's was a big deal as a kid. I mean, most of us did it, when we were 5 or 6. You did it at 17, but I'm still that's still terrific. Let's get into this. Tom Tancredo jumped out of the race a couple days ago. Is that a good thing for you, bad thing for you? My sense was he would have won that primary if he stayed in. Now that he's gone, how does that change it for you as a Democrat?
Well, I think in general, to be totally transparent, I think we could have beat Tom. So as the field of Democrats, I think it actually made it a little bit harder. On the same token, now, coming from where I do in terms of the policies that I believe in, I think I'm more balanced in terms of the things that I'm proposing for our state. And I'm comfortable going up against whoever that might be on the Republican side in the general.
Here's the usual question, so give me a better answer than most. Why the hell do you want to do this? You're going to spend a year of your life running for this office. Why do you want to be governor?
Well, the truth is, I think a lot of people, they do grow up wanting to be governor. I did not. I'm an introvert by nature, so it's not like my goal to be in front of the cameras. But I have spent 38 years deeply invested in this community, working in education, in economic development, a whole host of issues that I care deeply about. And so it's not that I want to be governor, but I do want to make a difference. And I think as governor, if you use the bully pulpit well, you can create a better Colorado by working with people across our state on the issues that, sometimes they divide us, but I think good leadership brings people together, and I will do that. So I'm here to make a difference in a whole host of different areas.
Well, going a little background, you haven't been elected. So what the hell qualifies you to be governor? Don't you have to first be on the school board and then the county commission and work your way up through the whole ranks of these things?
I don't think so, and I think in a time where there is a great distrust in government, that coming from a background that, I wouldn't tell you that simply having a business background qualifies you for anything. I wonder where I came up with that. But I will tell you that the work I've done civically does, and whether I've been in elected office or not, I've worked for 2 governors in appointed positions. I've worked on numerous workforce development bills over the last few years. I'm leading a statewide youth apprenticeship system called CareerWise in Colorado that I helped found in our state. And so I don't think it's whether or not you actually have been in elected office, it's what you bring to the office.
Let's talk a little bit about business. You've done very well, and you've built something here in Colorado. First, what is the business?
So my business actually started a class project at DU in my junior year. I did a business plan and started the company I run now at the end of my junior year and left DU. Actually, as a governor, I'll be the first governor, I suspect, without a 4-year degree. But I started the company called Intertech Plastics. And we're a manufacturer of a host of products, what most people recognize as koala baby changing stations they see in bathrooms around the country. Right. We make those, but over 300 other products in the medical, industrial, consumer products.
So basically,
area.
You just watched The Graduate, and when the guy said one word, plastics, that's all you needed.
I was paying attention.
I'm glad someone was. But beyond that, you've also created this apprenticeship program. I want to dive into that for a second. What is it and why?
Well, the why don't we start there?
Yeah.
Years ago, I was one of the founders of the Colorado I Have a Dream Foundation. And that's an organization that adopts inner city kids, typically in the 3rd grade, from neighborhoods with incredibly high dropout rates, up to 90%. And I helped found that organization, and 20 years ago, my wife and I adopted, through sponsorship, 42 kids from the South Lincoln Housing Projects, a neighborhood with
When you say 42, you don't have 42 kids living in your house that you're the official parent
of course we do. No, it's through sponsorship, which means that we commit for a decade to make sure that we provide what these kids need to get through high school, and then we provide a college scholarship if they graduate. And mind you, we did that in a neighborhood with a 90% dropout rate, and a decade of effort turned into a 92% graduation rate.
Wow.
So the why was from that experience is, if we can do that for 42, can we do that for a city, a state, or maybe even a country? And I searched for really 20 years to find that answer, and I found it actually 7,000 miles from here in Switzerland when I attended an institute on apprenticeships in that country. And what I saw was a system that didn't work for some kids, but for all kids. A third of their population, like in the US, get a 4-year degree, but 2/3 go through an apprenticeship. So what I saw was a system that wasn't for some kids, it was for all kids. And with that inspiration, I came back, asked the governor to lead a delegation with me back to the country with leaders from Colorado. We took 48 2 years ago this month. And based on that trip, we launched CareerWise 6 months later. We started our first cohort of apprentices at the beginning of the school year across 4 school districts: Denver, Jeffco, Cherry Creek, and Mesa 51 on the Western Slope, and 2 charters. And what kids get is industry credential, an apprenticeship wage, up to 30 credit hours of college credit. So if they go on to college, it's more affordable, and their high school diploma. So what it really does is provides a skill for kids to get middle-class jobs and better. And that's the key, addressing the equity gap that we have in this state.
All right, I tell you what, I want to get into some of the policy beliefs you have that you want to see as governor. But first, let's do the fun stuff, which is, in order to do that, you got to become governor. And in order to do that, you have to win a Democratic primary against 4 pretty qualified and probably pretty well-funded candidates. Let me ask you the tough one. How does anyone beat somebody like Jared Polis in a primary when he can write his own ticket? I mean, you're a wealthy guy. You've done really well, but you're not Jared Polis wealthy that you can write your own ticket. You've got to go out there and do what he doesn't have to do, which is you need to call people every day and say, can you give me $1,100 because there's a limit? How are you going to win this primary? How do you engage these 4 others?
Well, first, I think what you do is, you're correct. Even if I could do what Jared does, I wouldn't, because I don't think self-funding to that degree is the way we should elect our next governor, the person with the thickest wallet. But he's within his rights to do that. The way you win, I believe, is to have ideas that are real, that can actually make a difference in people's lives, that aren't false promises. Too much of politics at the national level or local tends to be saying things that you think will get elected because they sound good, but can't. And what I've found traveling the state is people actually would like to have a genuine candidate that answers questions and has real solutions to real problems. And I think you win by raising as much money as you can, by traveling the state. You know, I've done 19,000 miles so far. Is it going to be easy? No. Am I an underdog? You bet.
Let me push on that for a second. In order to win in November, you got to win earlier. And promising things that cannot be delivered sometimes really helps you in a primary. Jared Polis has said we're going to reach 100% renewable energy. So is
Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson. That's unrealistic, but I think for the crowd who are going to show up in primaries, that's probably red meat. If you're saying by being realistic, it's going to help you win the primary,
I don't think
really.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that. And certainly if you just come up with soft goals that aren't going to move our state forward, no, it's not enough. But I think people are a little more sensitive to bold promises when they know when those words are uttered, they actually can't actually happen. And I did my research on that policy, and I find it interesting that 2 candidates come out of the gate and say they're going to get us to 100% by 2040, years after they will be governor. As governor, I want to be measured while I'm governor. What's going to happen over the next 8 years? And my plan is to take us from 21.8%, which is where we're at today, to 45%. Within that 8-year period. That technology supports, I mean, you know, if we shut down a gas-fired plant, we're going to pay for the leftover depreciation. So are we going to double or triple the rates for electricity in this state to get to a false goal that technology doesn't support? I think actually when people are given the choice, they would love us to move from where we're at to more than double that within the next 9 years, and they can hold me accountable for that. Listen, is that going to sell? I hope people are looking for the truth. You know, we're not going to have a wall on the southern border that Mexico is going to pay for.
They're going to pay for it. Yeah. They're going to pay for it. All right. Well, then let's talk about some of these more realistic things. Energy policy is one, and the thought that you're only going to make promises for what you can do in your 8 years. See, you've already won re-election in this dream. That's pretty good to begin with. But you're making promises for that. Tell me what else differentiates you from the others. What other things do you believe aren't real that they're promising that you want to bring back to reality?
Well, what I would say in a state where we're close to $1 billion beneath Amendment 23 goals that we all voted on, to say that we're going to make pre-K free or kindergarten free, something that I believe makes sense for Colorado. But we have 50% of our school districts today that operate 4 days a week, the majority because of lack of funding. So we can make a promise that we're going to add something when we have deficits, as we do in what we're paying our teachers in the districts that can't operate 5 days a week. So to me, would you buy a second home if you weren't current on your mortgage for your first? You couldn't even get a loan. So when we're making promises like that, I think it's irresponsible. What I will tell you as governor is I will make the case across this state that an investment in education will pay the type of return that when I've been in La Junta or Pueblo or Grand Junction, communities say they want. They don't want a second-rate education, and they're willing to pay for it if they trust that the money will be spent wisely. And I think it's the job of the governor to say it's unacceptable that we have 50% of our schools operating 4 days a week.
So to be clear, are you saying you don't want pre-K and kindergarten, or that you're saying first you want to address the Amendment 23 deficit before that conversation happens?
Yes, it's a priority of needs. I certainly would love to see all of our kids have the benefit of pre-K and kindergarten, but I'm also realistic. We can't pay for everything all at once. I run a business. Every year, everybody wants to buy equipment that we can't afford, so we buy what we can. And over time, we grow our business, and like we will grow this state. But if we make promises, it'll bankrupt the state, and the taxpayers won't support it.
Energy, education, those are two very big differences between you and your companions. Give me one more.
Well, I think healthcare is something that we're challenged with as a nation. In the next 15 years, Medicaid alone in Colorado will probably bankrupt the state if we don't do something. Certainly, the ACA was one attempt. It's being dismantled. If we don't take on the cost of healthcare in this state and in this country, you know, it's already 18% of our GDP. We cannot afford this as a country. Now, I don't think, frankly, anything's going to happen in Washington anytime soon. So what I'm proposing is that Western states, governors, band together through maybe interstate compacts to build a healthcare system that takes on cost, enables us to ensure that the providers do compete, whether they be the pharmaceutical companies or the healthcare companies. I believe that everybody in this country should not just have access to healthcare, because we all do. You can all walk into an emergency room and you're going to get treated, but it's the most expensive way. So I want to build a system that works, and maybe it's just the Western states. Maybe we get 3 or 4 states, including California, to band together and do kind of what Warren Buffett and JP Morgan Chase and Amazon are thinking about doing. What they're saying is we're going to create a big pool and we're going to create a more efficient system.
So I just heard we're going to double the amount of renewable energy, that we're going to fund the deficits created by Amendment 23, which I thought had to be filled anyway. I think one good lawsuit would force that. And we're going to fix Medicaid, which is bankrupting us. We've got 1 out of every 4 Coloradans now on the healthcare dole. What I'm hearing is regulatory cost increase for energy, tax increase, tax increase. So as governor, will you be championing a tax?
Yeah, I believe that there's some things you need to invest in. But here's the interesting thing about energy and renewables. I sat down with Xcel Energy. They're making a major investment in wind in our state, and in the process are going to save $500 million. That's a proposal before the PUC. Moving towards renewable energy, if you do it in a logical and measured way, actually reduce costs. So no, it doesn't necessarily actually cost you more money.
Then we don't have to mandate anything or change any regulations because Xcel will want to save energy and over time go to renewables.
They certainly will. Now, if you're in Black Hills or you're in some of the rural parts of Colorado, they don't have the same resources as Xcel. And if you don't come up with a strategy to enable them to do it, Xcel is going to be at 65% renewables within 10 years, based on their own estimates. It's not the same thing in rural Colorado. So it will take changes.
What I hear when I hear changes, I hear electrical costs going up. But go back to
Not necessarily, though, John.
Fair enough. All right. Go to the tax increases here. What will you be proposing as a tax increase as governor? What is it you'd be supporting?
Well, I do believe in education that we can't get around Amendment 23. The way we got around it was a negative factor, and you may be correct. If we were to file suit against it, maybe we could see that happen. I don't know that. But what I do believe is we can make the choice to have our schools operate 4 days a week, or come together as a state and say, we need to make an investment. Yes, it will be in new taxes. The type of tax or how best to apportion that, I don't have an answer for you.
But there will be a tax increase
yes.
When you become governor. All right, 2 last questions. When you become governor, will you come back and do this program a couple times a year? Make that promise for me.
I will make that promise for you.
And the other one I have to ask everyone, Ginger or Marianne? You can get to the soul of a man with that question.
Marianne.
Politically correct answer. Noel, thank you so much. Stay tuned.